All right, everybody. Happy full moon in Virgo, especially to my Virgo suns and moons and risings. This one definitely was hitting me. And I feel like we're all feeling that Mercury in Pisces transit. It's now entering shadow, but I feel like it's highlighted now more than ever. So, doing something a little different today for the full moon. Um, we have 3 piles of cards, so you can go into the description box or the comment section and look for the timestamp for group 1, group 2, group 3. From the Soul Journeys lesson deck, I asked what lesson you are harvesting at this time, since Virgo is all about harvest and so are full moons. So this is the lesson you're harvesting. From the energy deck, we have what energy can you use to support the lesson that you're harvesting, what you're to keep it in solidification and manifestation. And then from the Magdalene Oracle, this is what the Divine Mother wants you to remember when you're feeling tried. And then what I'm going to do is I only saw a few of them. I haven't seen most of them. Then I'm going to use the Rider-Waite to further clarify those messages. All right, so take a moment. Does pile 1, 2, or 3 resonate with you? Talk to you soon. All right, pile 1. The lesson that you're manifesting right now is happiness. I'm aware that being happy means that I'm on the right path. So, I mean, what's better than that? I love that they use dolphins to exhibit happiness in this deck too, because like, what's more carefree and fluid than a dolphin? And also, you guys know that I use those mermaid dolphin decks that I feel like they just have a connection. I feel like mermaids and connections have dolphins, and I also feel that mermaids are connected to the divine dark feminine, as well as Mary Magdalene. That's why I use her deck. She's also connected to the dark feminine, meaning the suppressed feminine, the parts of us we are not supposed to be proud in. So I feel like that's really powerful work, especially for people who identify as women. Excuse me. But reaping the lesson, like learning the lesson of happiness, I'm aware that being happy means I'm on the right path. I feel like that helps you simplify things, right? Because it's so easy to make our happiness complicated sometimes. Like, well, I'd be happy if I had more money. I'd be happy when I changed my job. I'll be happy when whatever. But happiness happens in moments. Even when we get our biggest wishes granted, like you can literally have the money. Let's say you win the money to go on like your dream vacation. There are still things that could happen on that dream vacation that take you out of the joy of happiness, even if it's for 15 minutes. You know what I mean? Life happens in the rebound. So I feel like instead of trying to also parse together what's my path, what's my purpose, what's my this, what's my that, it's going to be really important for you to continue to go with the flow and find enjoyment in the moments of your life, okay? The energy that you can use to support yourself with this manifestation, Healer of the Ages. I also love that this is a 6. Excuse me. I love this is a 6. And his heart chakra is beaming yellow, but we do have the heart chakra right here in green. 6 is all about right reciprocity. This gives me, this Healer of the Ages cards gives me Christ consciousness vibes, just based off of how they have this figure dressed and how obviously most people publish Jesus. But I feel like this is about tapping into your power. You're going to be happiest when you feel empowered. You're going to be happiness when you feel like you have the ability through your connection with Source to shift anything in your reality. Okay? So at the times that you're feeling like happiness is out of your reach, or you're feeling a little bit too challenged, or you're feeling like you're in strife, or you're feeling like it's an uphill battle, like 10 of Wands type of energy, what's going to support you in shifting that energy back into the flow, shifting that energy back into fun and youthful energy and just being able to enjoy what you have is going to be remembering that you are tapping into an ancient part of yourself, and that if you're feeling any type of resistance or you're feeling like you're not worthy or anything like that, that's probably past life programming coming through. But good news is you have the power to transmute it. So there's nothing outside of your reach. Like his hands are like letting off like fireworks. Like there's nothing outside of your reach. There's so much illumination here, and he's coming through a threshold. I just feel like between you and your relationship with your higher self and your relationship with Source, anything is possible. Excuse me. Oh, and lastly, what the Divine Mother wants you to remember when things get trying or difficult. We have Divine Order. She almost is taking a feminine version of the stance he's taking. Is this like easier to see? Yeah, I'll go like that. She almost looks like a what's that, Lumiere from Beauty and the Beast? Excuse me. Let me sip some coffee. She's very dainty but strong. And I love how she's combining the colors of both of these cards. Okay, so I feel like it's important to be rooted in the present, okay? All of this energy is giving me rooted energy for the present, but also being able to flow. And like a tree, trees have sturdy enough roots to be able to weather storms. And they may lose a branch, they may lose a small piece of themselves, but to fully uproot a tree, especially one that's been there for a long time, one that has been around for ages, one that understands that in order to withstand life's worst moments, you know, you balance them out with ease. You balance them out with the ability to be flexible, the ability to bend. And what I also feel like you need to learn or remember to bend is time. Yes, Saturn is in Capricorn, but so is Pluto, and so is Venus. Venus ruling value and money and beauty. And the beauty of time, Saturn, is that you can manipulate it to your favor, especially with Pluto there. Pluto wanting to change something from its core, from its literal, from its definition, and redefining it. So I feel like you have the power right now to also redefine happiness, redefine what it means to be a healer. If you're one of those people that still is like, oh, I'm an empath, I absorb everyone's energy, therefore I'm not in control when I feel bad. You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing, like a very victimized energy. You have the power to shift that right now. And I feel like that will also, when you're feeling kind of antsy, give you the peace to remember that everything happens in divine timing and you could never be off path. All these messages are talking about how you could never be off path and how you're permanently on purpose. Because Lord knows, everyone's always worried about making the wrong decision. Everyone's always worried about taking the wrong way. Spirit, further clarify happiness of the lesson that Group 1 is currently learning at this Virgo full moon. Further clarify Healer of the Ages as the support energy. That wanted to be in reverse, which is very interesting. And further clarify the energy from the Divine Mother. Oh, yep. There we go. Okay. Interesting. So if you need any further clarification, Five of Swords and the Strength underneath happiness is saying that playing a mental game with yourself and going back and forth and creating confusion and creating scenarios and what's the word I want to use? Entertaining scenarios that you know ultimately are not going to add to your happiness. Like any type of resistance or needing to define something, I feel like will start to debilitate your ability to just be free. Now with the Strength card here, this does speak of patience as well, and having to speak of, you know, that there's a time and a place for everything. Sometimes we have to be strong in a way that of asserting ourselves, or in a way of, you know, being dominant, right? Being dominant and being assertive. And other times we have to be docile, and that's the way to peace. But I feel like you have this conflict back and forth, like, am I really happy if I don't try to create change? Am I just settling if I'm okay with what's happening right now? And that sort of thing. All right, sorry, I was coughing incessantly. All right. But with the Healer of the Ages being your support, right? In this endeavor, it's further clarified by the Knight of Swords in reverse and the Page of Swords upright. I feel like especially in spirituality, the mind, right? Mercurial things, the ego, the way that we process information, the way that we define information, whatever, is particularly seen as something that is not necessarily helpful or an asset on your spiritual journey. But I feel like with Healer of the Ages here is that you have the power to like rein in the mind and hone your thoughts in a way that people who are not as self-aware, people who are not as self-reflective, don't have the ability to do. The way the Page of Swords, or excuse me, the Knight of Swords flipped itself, I feel like you have the power to heal the chatter of your mind and just pull it all back, slow it down, pulling the reins. Because the Knight of Swords usually likes to rush and he likes to jump to conclusions and he just announces himself. And I feel like the Page of Swords is reminding you here to have more discretion. You may even need to keep things to yourself. Sometimes we like to talk, right? There's nothing wrong with liking to talk. But liking to talk to people also invites people into our thought process unnecessarily. And it's technically our own fault. But, you know, we don't like that they have comments and they're kind of meddling, especially if this has to do anything with anything sexual or physical pleasure, which I talked about physical pleasure in my IGTV reading. But I feel like you have the power to just rein in the mind. There's nothing wrong with being inquisitive. Okay, there's nothing wrong with wanting to bounce ideas back and forth and all that kind of stuff. But ultimately, now's not the time to run with them and announce them to anybody, okay? To further clarify divine order as your support and advice when things get difficult, we have the Nine of Cups with the Magician. It is 120% always your job to live your happy life and to make your dreams come true and to feel contented and satisfied, right? Yes, the Nine of Cups can talk about wishes coming true and they will in divine timing, but also you have to play your role. There's a fine balance between waiting, allowing, right? Waiting and allowing. Longing is different, right? And dissatisfaction is different. When you settle into the complete now and you understand that if you're not in the immediate reality, if you're not in the ultimate now, the endless now, you cannot even find the answers to your qualms because you're living in the past or you're living in the future. And that's not now. That's not the energy that you have access to now. And technically, if you want to access any point of time, we're just talking about manipulating time, you have to be in the present. So your power, we have two, whatchamacallits here. We have two infinity symbols here. Your connection to the divine is the only connection that matters. In all problems or issues or dissatisfactions are solved through co-creation with your higher self. Never, and your higher self doesn't chatter. Your higher self needs quiet and needs stillness to come through. So I feel like as you learn to quiet the mind and you come into acceptance that you only play so much of a role. And I feel like also what you're trying to manifest here is a lot more staying power. And I feel like you're trying to also make sure that your sovereignty and your power is not debilitated by anything that you put yourself into, even in the pursuit of happiness. Maybe you haven't had a lot of memories or experiences where you were happy but also empowered. You were happy like romantically and also had a great job and also whatever. Like I don't think you've ever had the full picture. And it is coming potentially in Gemini season, okay? Or when Mercury moves out of Pisces, which I feel like happens around a similar time. But I also, too, would watch how much time you spend on social media. I just feel like social media right now might be more of a distraction than not. Okay. All right. Group 2. All right, group 2. So, I'll put them this way. The lesson that you are manifesting at this time is, regret. I know that I cannot change the past. So the last message, group number 1, did have an overall message of having to accept the present moment. And I feel like this is piggybacking off of that in a different way. Regret, as someone who once told me is hindsight bias, is absolutely true in the sense that we only have regrets from our new, elevated, more intelligent, one could say, or just advanced perspective, meaning like we have lived it and we've experienced an outcome and now we have this new vantage point and we're having a regret just because we've learned more, right? So it's almost like we are condemning ourselves for growing, okay, in a lot of ways. And with this being a root chakra thing, primarily, root and solar plexus, connecting to people or creating unhealthy relationships with people, losing boundaries, right? Being afraid of being abandoned, all that kind of stuff. all the things that we've done for security, all the things that we've done for self-acceptance, well, before when we didn't know how to accept ourselves and we didn't know how to connect with people in a healthy manner, all of that is coming up. And I don't think it's coming up necessarily to haunt you for the first time or something. I think that it's being brought up so that you find peace with all that you are. Because if you didn't go through those experiences, you wouldn't be who you are today. You wouldn't even have the vantage point to be able to share regret. You know what I'm saying? I'm sorry, I put some cards in here upside down, and I don't like to shuffle this deck with reversals. So that's the lesson that you're learning now. You're learning now that you are perfect, that everything that you've been through is perfect, that every decision that you've made thus far is perfect. The energy that you need to tap into to support yourself with solidifying this lesson and embodying it is man holding a heart. That's a 9. So if you've had a lot of romantic regrets, if you've had a lot of times in your life where you're almost embarrassed over what type of love life you've had, or your dating history and all that kind of stuff, if you also have a hard time accepting love, if you have a hard time letting people into your life, if you have a hard time giving your heart to someone, because he literally cut a heart out of his pants. But it's interesting because his leg's not exposed. So it's like he gives of himself in a manner that is noticeable, right? It's noticeable that he has given a piece of himself to somebody, but not to the point that he has put himself at risk, so to speak. You may, especially if you date men, you may have just never been able to like pick them. Like you always pick the wrong one, or like what is the problem? I think that there's a big lesson here too about the way that masculine energy shares love through action, okay? Through presence, through doing something. So if in the past you trusted people that didn't end up making good on their promise, or you gave yourself to people that weren't worthy, right, of you and whatever, and usually it's because we fall for potential if those are the kind of problems. Usually it's because we're falling for someone who is talking different than they're walking, right? I feel like this is saying that, one, you need somebody that's cut from the same cloth as you, meaning is on a journey of self-actualization and prioritizes being self-aware and, prioritizes respect and honesty and things like that, right? So that's what I mean by cut from the same cloth. But also, I feel like you also need someone who is about action, not talk. I don't think this man talks a lot. Look at him. First of all, men that are really good looking, not saying that I like long hair, but men that are really good looking don't need to be chatting all the time and talk about what they're about to do. They just do it. They just do it. They just live in the now, and they don't try to present themselves as like this great catch, but they know they're a great catch. Like the nice guy, the hot nice guy that everyone thinks is like rare, he's out there every day, and he's not bragging, that's for sure. And he's not selling you dreams either. He's just going to treat you like a regular person. I feel like that's important to remember. All right, so finally, what the Divine Mother wants you to remember when things get challenging and difficult. Well, look at that. We have Mary Magdalene herself. So, I'm a believer that Jesus and Mary Magdalene were the original divine union. When I think of, if you guys know I don't do the twin flame stuff, but if I was ever going to actually give someone the title of twin flames, it would be Mary Magdalene and Jesus. Okay? And I don't necessarily even think they had a sexual relationship. Really. I'm sure they loved each other deeply, but I think they were so caught up in service, they didn't even have time to make it sexual. I mean, maybe they did. Who's to say? However, this image of Mary Magdalene, she's also holding like a version of herself at her chest. It's not a child, it's a small version of herself. And they both have their eyes closed. And I feel like you need to nurture the parts of yourself and open your heart to the parts of yourself that have always been rejected, especially when it comes to public appearance. Okay, because what's Mary Magdalene's role in our society? It's that she was the whore that washed Jesus's feet. Literally. They invalidated her, yet he showed himself to her first at his grave. Not to get all Christian, I'm not even that Bible 101. I bet half of you watching this have got more information than me, but that's still the point. So you need to nurture and love yourself for the parts of you that are continuously misunderstood, especially by people that you love, or if the public misconstrues your relationships. If you have a lot of regret around relationships in the past, maybe that person didn't really claim you, or people perceived you as having a great relationship, but it was different, or vice versa. If you've never had like a proper love story, I feel like a lot of that is here, but you need the love that is required to really open your heart to a partner who is cut from the same cloth as you, who deserves you, right? And you deserve them, is going to be by tapping into those pieces of you that since you were a child, you felt were not worthy. And that's like, okay, for example, I talked a lot my whole entire life, and I used to get told things like, little girls should be seen and not heard, or, watch your mouth, or it's not what you say, it's how you say it, or whatever, right? So I lost the desire to share myself with anybody. I didn't want to say my thoughts anymore. I didn't want to say my feelings because apparently they were always wrong. You know what I mean? Or not to be said. So this is about connecting to the parts of you that have been repressed since you can remember. All right? But Spirit, further clarify regret as the lesson that is solidifying for group 2. Oh, wow, yeah. Further clarify man holding a heart as what energy they can tap into get support. Interesting. And further clarify Mary Magdalene as it relates to the Divine Mother's advice. All right. So, with Judgment in the Moon underneath regret, I feel like this Pisces season, what is going to happen for you is you're going to be able to lay something to rest for good if you want to, especially something that you never quite understood. There may be some element, right? Some common thread between all your regrets that you could never quite put your finger on. You didn't know why you couldn't let it go, and you didn't know what exactly you had to heal about yourself to be able to get over this or to get through this or whatever. And I don't think any type of situation or person or specific manifestation is coming back with Judgment here. I don't feel that way at all. I feel like this is just going to be a time where if you truly are ready to detach and live in the now, especially when it comes to love, especially when it comes to romance. This is why I don't do specific love readings. They can just make themselves happen. When it comes to romance, in experiences and things that require vulnerability and things that require us to show up and give it a shot, we're never going to know in advance if it's worth it or not. We just have to be willing to go through the experience and to use our intuition as a guide. And everything that you are prone to regretting is actually what honed your intuitive body. Underneath man holding a heart, we have King of Cups and the Fool. And I feel like this is Aquarian energy and this is Pisces energy. So again, we're talking about the threshold right here. And I also feel like this is about taking a chance on a different kind of man or a different kind of partner or a different approach to love. Because the King of Cups is someone who has his head on straight and is very empathetic and open, right? The King of Cups is someone who is open. And what's interesting with the Fool here is the Fool, I feel like the Fool is saying this person may seem like a risk, or they may seem like really detached, or like they don't really care about anything, but I just feel like that's not a facade, but it's going to feel like you're taking a plunge and taking a risk. The partners, the potential partners that feel like a sure thing, okay? When you want all those signs up front to be shown like there's a third thing, but they're I don't know. I feel like this is about going slowly but taking a risk. Okay, because the King of Cups isn't gonna rush, but he's also very present, and he's gonna listen to his head just as much as his heart. So he's gonna be paced, right? I feel like this is also about a little bit about chivalry, you know, because I feel like, you know, everyone's saying dating is dead. Where do you meet people? People get sexual really quickly, and you know, you guys know I've talked about how I feel like there's a big shift right now in how we express sexual energy. I feel like this King of Cups is gonna feel like you have to leave all your old bullshit behind her. He could be an Aquarius who's got water in his chart, or vice versa. But he's gonna feel like a total risk, and like he could also be like not your type at all, like visually. And it's like, because he's so different, you know, you're gonna have to like, that may be a sign too. You may meet somebody that's like drastically different than like all the other people that you've dated. And that may be the sign that like all of this is over. Everything you've ever regretted is over. But I feel like that would be different I mean, they would be different at a soul level, but I also feel like they would be different in appearance. This King of Cups may come across as quiet as well, kind of stoic, but soft. And you may feel like he doesn't pay that much attention to you, but that's not the case. I feel like he also sees, even if he doesn't recognize it cognizantly, I feel like he also sees the empathy in you. With the Five of Swords here, though, I feel like you may be going back and forth in your head about whether or not this person is even your type and worth a shot, because you're used to really dominant people that are like, that make their crushes known on you. Yeah, especially if you're an Earth sign woman. You usually like someone that's like very, very, very action oriented and moves quickly and kind of has like a sexual tone to their approach. So this may be different for you, but you know that staying focused on yourself and your own goals is ideal anyways. But I definitely think being open to someone who is a good listener is also important. Yeah, look at that. Look at that. I said good listener. I said good listener. And we got the Queen of Cups and the Four of Wands. All right? So this is also going to require you to open up. And I think that's why you need a good listener, because that's the only way I think you're going to feel comfortable opening up, is if you know that they're listening and that they really care. Okay, so even if there's someone that seems like they're not really paying that much attention to you, don't miss your opportunity. Don't give up your opportunity to have something real just because you don't think that they're as bold and brazen as you like. Okay? I feel like this is like a tortoise versus the hare thing. I think slow and steady wins the race. Finally, with Magdalene, we have Seven of Wands and the Three of Wands. You're going to have to pave your own way when it comes to the direction you want your life to go in, regardless of whether or not someone is coming with you. So I feel like Mary Magdalene is saying too that like you always have options. You never need to settle. You always have endless amounts of options with the Seven of Wands here. And people are always going to find you desirable. Even if they don't understand, like I feel like too, sometimes we want attention, or we just want, like, there's always going to be people out there that like at least 25% of you. You know what I'm saying? So you want to move only forward with someone who likes all of you, and someone that doesn't make you explain why you are the way you are, or someone who doesn't ask you to like jump through hoops or prove yourself to them, because you don't need to prove anything. They should, if anything, prove themselves to you. Yeah. Okay. But we do have the Nine of Swords at the bottom of the deck. A person who gets you is automatically going to want to just progress with you and move forward with you naturally. It's not going to be a what are we type of conversation. It's not going to be a like, are we seeing other people? It's just going to be like a natural, slow progression. But I think it may not start till March, and it might not feel like you're actually together till like July or even September, because I think there's still more that has to be purged. Yeah. Because sometimes, sometimes spirit blocks us from people because, like, we may know them already, but, like, let's say they haven't quite healed all the way from, like, old relationships. It has nothing to do with you. So, yeah, I think all of Pisces season, come back at the equinox. I think all of Pisces season is going to be repairing any resistance you have to accepting new love after being on pause for so long. Like there's still something that you're not quite seeing yet. Further clarify this Three of Swords. Yeah. You don't want to rush. I feel like anything that tries to start very quickly will ultimately damage the relationship. So I feel like you may slowly open up to an offer, and by the equinox, by Aries season, things will jump off a little bit more. This also may be a desire to be friends first. Yeah. And then we have Pisces and Virgo. Virgo energy here with the Seven of Cups. Yeah, keeping your energy uninhibited by other people and not intertwining yourself, especially sexually, I feel like is what's gonna give you the clarity to make your decisions in a grounded manner. But I feel like if you make any type of snap decision that you can't take back, okay, whether that mean having sex with somebody or taking yourself off the market or breaking up with somebody, whatever the case may be, I feel like you're gonna regret it. Okay. And look, we have regret there. But the key to having a soulmate or a soul-to-soul understanding relationship is being able to suspend yourself, I feel like, in the newness of a connection, Ace of Cups and the Hanged Man, being able to sit into friendship, being able to really get to know them. And I feel like that is what will allow you to see through any potential confusion that you have and move from being skeptical to trusting. This was fun. I love when love readings happen organically. All right, number 3. All right, group number 3. So the lesson that you are manifesting now with this full moon is relationships. I'm attracted to those who serve my higher good. The last reading ended up being kind of about a relationship too. So this is about, I feel like this is confirmation that you have solidified your point of attraction, because you now use your intuitive body when it comes to feeling out connections in your solar plexus. Like you trust your gut and you trust what you see. I also feel like there's a lot more of a divine hand in the connections that you make, and I feel like you can see that. This can be like, oh, you can instantly recognize past life connections with people, like instant, like without getting into the muddy karma of things. You just like, you can tell like, oh, I connect with this person this way because they must have been a past life brother. They must have been a past life friend. Like you don't just automatically categorize it as one thing. You can see the different shades and varieties and ways that it does that. I also feel like you're coming into a lot more contentment with the connections that you do have and even the connections that you don't have. I think that, again, if there are people that are fading away from you right now or that you don't really feel like you want to connect to, honor that as well. It doesn't mean you need to move them out from your life and that they're toxic. It just means that the way that you're identifying with them is different. I also feel like you may be changing your, quote, definition of friendship as well, where it's like you can't tell this person everything, but you know they're still a good friend and you enjoy them. Like there's becoming more shades in relationships, and that's easier to handle when you get to a more advanced point in your spiritual journey, because you understand now how to, in general, draw boundaries. You can start putting many different varieties and many different distances, if you will, for everyone, and it's easier to trust. The energy that you need to tap into to help support solidifying this energy is interesting. Envy. Fascinating. You may have finally rid yourself of any friendships you had that jealousy was an undercurrent. Okay? Jealousy and envy, and to me, are very similar. Like this woman is looking outside and she's obviously like grimacing upon the beautiful golden sun and whatnot, but she's chosen this life for herself. And I feel like it's important to remember too, everyone chooses their life for themselves. So you can love somebody, but no longer like them, no longer like the way they live their life, no longer like the way that they, that your relationship connects and all that kind of stuff, or what they do with their relationships. And you can excuse yourself and still have love for that person and not call them toxic and not act like you're a victim to something. Because we all have the power to change our circumstance, especially when it comes to our relationships. We may not have the power to change every circumstance, but we can change who we connect to. We can change how we connect to people and how we share ourselves with people. And I also feel like this is a grass is always greener moment. So if there's things that you feel like you're lacking in your relationships, I feel like it's important to then sit with the people that you feel like have better relationships than you, like whether it be people online or people in your real life, or, you know, people on Facebook, you know, everyone's getting freaking married or whatever, having kids, and you're like, that's not happening for me, what's good? And then really sit there and think, like, if you had all that going on for yourself, would you be posting about it on social media 17 times a day? Like, well, you know what I'm saying? Like, and just sit on all of that and see if it still resonates as something that you're jealous of. Because jealousy and envy also means that you feel that there's something preventing you from having what they have. So you also have to I don't know why I want to say disinfect, but it's dissect. Dissect why you feel like you can't have that. Yes, you may not have a partner, so it's easy to ease, but like, why do you feel like, you know, that's never going to happen for you? You know what I mean? What is really preventing it? And would you really want all that right now? Would you want someone to be up in your face 24/7? You know, like, there's a lot of things in relationship that seem really good, but then if you had them right now in this immediate moment, you'd be like, go away now. What the Divine Mother wants you to remember when things get difficult when going through this energy. Ooh, we have crucifixion. I feel like it's important, especially now, for you to not, quote, hang yourself out to dry when it comes to what's not going right, potentially in your relationships, or what you feel may be lacking. Sometimes we have to go through the forests of life, if you will. And forests, yes, there is sun, but the sun is very segmented off and filtered by everything around us. So if you're having trouble seeing relationships clearly, or seeing what you want in relationships clearly, or feeling like everyone else has things going on for them that you should be able to achieve, but you just can't seem to do so, I feel like you need to invite grace and gratitude into your life big time. In my Instagram TV video, the two cards that came out from this deck were the Lovers and Gratitude. And you may have a really hard time finding the gratitude in the connections that you do have, or the connections that you've had to let go, or how they've changed or whatever. Because I feel like this feels like tension and resistance to what is happening right now, and being dissatisfied with how connections are in your life right now. But I feel like you may be going through a lull period of like where you don't have a lot of people, but you're starting to meet new people. It's that lull, right? That drag between when space gets cleared out and new things get invited in. Manifestation happens over a period. Though Virgo is the harvest season, it's not all going to crop up right at once. It means you've energetically shifted in order to receive all this stuff, but it's going to be imperative that you remember that, you know, certain aspects of ourselves where we want to be really harsh on ourselves and drag ourselves down and, you know, think that we're always lacking something or missing something is going to be our demise, so to speak. I feel like that if you beat yourself up about what is not happening when it comes to you and other people, in particularly, I feel like it's going to slow manifestation big time. But let's further clarify these cards. Spirit, further clarify relationships as it relates to the lesson that group 3 is solidifying at this Virgo full moon. Yeah. Further clarify envy as what energy they need to tap into to be supported in solidifying the lesson. That is way too many cards. Please, just one. Further clarify envy. Yep. Further clarify crucifixion as what the Divine Mother wants us to remember. Yeah. Okay. So I can't stress this enough. Do not beat yourself up. And do not compare yourself to anybody. Seriously. Please. I feel like this reading is a combination of the other two, and for people that are going through a little bit more of a hard time right now, and this is a very polarizing time. Underneath relationships, the 8 of Wands and Justice in the 5 of Swords is I feel like you've been feeling like things are moving in an unfair direction, and that it's just not going to happen for you. And I feel like every time you get in your head about this, or you allow yourself to be distracted, and get into like petty arguments with people that you don't really even want in your life anyways, that aren't even moving in the same direction as you, that aren't even worthy or part of your karmic path, I feel like it slows your progress. Because the Eight of Wands is speed and it's manifestation and it's things coming in quickly and it's a period of change, it's messages, it's the force, if you will. The force of what? Justice. It's pushing justice into your immediate reality, which is balance, which is things that are harmonious for you. People that are your equal but also your opposite. And with the Five of Swords here, I feel like things are moving, but you're like, that's not fair. I wanted more. I wanted to have people around, or I wanted this, or I wanted that. So I feel like unintentionally, your mental process and conversation, especially around the way that you connect with other people, this could be any type of relationship, job, romantic, friends, whatever, right? The way that you connect with people and you attract people that are going to advance your highest good. Things have been manifesting and you've been questioning them and questioning Spirit's discretion as if we know better than Spirit. So I feel like you got to take a step back a little bit and remember that constantly trying to define and ask why is this happening? Why is this happening? Why is this happening? Is just getting yourself in a mental loop that you don't need to be in. It's not helping you at all. And it's slowing down that, quote, karmic justice that you want, that equalization of the scales that you want. Remember that everyone's challenges and everyone's blessings come in their own personal package that best suits their own life path. So I feel like you need to have more trust in the divine now more than ever. Okay? Yeah. Now more than ever, especially if you want to meet this King of Cups. And the King of Cups and the Queen of Cups came up in the last reading, which was about love. Underneath envy, we have the Queen of Cups with the Ten of Pentacles. And I feel like this is like some of you are literally jealous of like women on your social media platforms that seem to have it all together. They seem to have the money. They seem to have, the family, the ring, the body, the whatever, right? I also feel like some of you are kind of mad that your life has been about like material success and growth for so long. And you're feeling like, well, when am I going to get to just be the emotional soft person? Why do I always have to be about, getting the bag and the coin? Like, that's fun, but I want someone to share it with. But the Queen of Cups is also saying that you're also not quite ready to open up and share all of this wealth and show all this stability with another person. I feel like this is also the desire for marriage, and I feel like she's not facing this card. So I feel like you may be jealous of people that have big families or that come together a lot and like, connect as a unit. But you aren't even comfortable yet enough with yourself to be that open with people. Like that requires a lot of people in your personal space and people wanting to know how you feel all the time and just having that transparency. So remember that things happen when they're supposed to happen and you're still in the process of opening. You're extremely perceptive as well. So I feel like part of the dis-ease that you feel is that deep, deep down, you know that it's happening and that it's manifesting itself for you, but you're upset about the lag. Okay? Underneath crucifixion, we have the Five of Wands with the Three of Swords. Any type of stink you put up, if you will, or any type of fight you create or resistance you put up or whatever in an attempt to circumvent pain, I feel like ultimately causes pain because that's fighting the flow and not trusting that what Spirit is bringing you is a resolution to, and again, in alignment with your highest self. I feel like a lot of times we try to pick a partner or to weed out people that are ultimately going to hurt us. And that's not to say that you don't need to ignore red flags. I mean, blatant red flags are blatant red flags. But the Five of Wands and the Three of Swords is also, I feel like, resisting healing and accepting that sometimes we do get our feelings hurt, but that's what makes us grow. Like the times that we've been the most heartbroken, we have grown the most from. So why try to be like hyper cautious and defensive around people that could potentially hurt you? That's a resistance to vulnerability as well. And again, I'm not saying in any way to not legit heed red flags. That would be super foolish. Yeah. But what you need to also move away from is just feeling the need to be defensive and feeling like that your heart or your life is too fragile to even endure one blow. when that's totally not the case. You're way stronger than that, and you have learned way more than that. And I feel like it's important to remember that your present is not your past. Yeah. I feel like it's not entirely clear to you still yet that you are a badass, that you are someone who takes action and co-creates with spirit and listens to her intuitive body and does creative things and is desirable and is someone that everyone wants a piece of, right? Someone that everyone wishes they could be. I feel like you don't see yourself in the eyes that other people see you, and that leads you to be more confused and not understand like why things happen. Also, the Queen of Wands is super happy single. She's super happy to be like the cat's meow and single and have everyone desire her. And she knows that doesn't mean that those are people that want her per se, or deserve her, right? She has high, high standards. But she also knows that sometimes people are like magnetized to you and you know, that's just part of your appeal. Okay? And what you need to do is keep your standards high and to wait for that dream manifestation, wait for that soul to soul type of connection before you even think about giving up your singleness. Yeah. Because you're going through a transformative period right now where what a relationship is or how you connect with people is radically changing. Okay. And it will happen a lot faster if you let go of resistance and allow this Eight of Wands. Allow the truth. Allow what Spirit has in store for you to come through. Allow the grace period for you to learn how to open up to that long-term, serious, committed energy. Okay? Wow, I can't believe I almost did 3 love readings all by accident. I love y'all so much. It is my pleasure, and I will talk to you soon. Peace.